Great, thanks. Appreciate joining. I was telling Carol this morning that I posted last week's talk, the publicity pictures online on the Zoom yesterday, and there were already 87 people had watched it by this time today. So, we have a smaller group on live than we used to in the early days of the pandemic. But it's still interesting to see some of the weeks that 100 or more people come back and watch the chats. So last couple of weeks, we've done publicity photos from the fairs. I'm going to get back to that next week, including some rare publicity pictures from the 33-34 Chicago Fair. But for this week, I'm going to go into videos or movies, both a combination of a shown at the fair and then a couple home movies from the fair. What was interesting is, a lot of the fairs have had a lot of movies. It's a very easy way to put together a show without having to have rides or audio animatronic figures or live performers. And a lot of the movies have survived. But when I was watching some of them, you say, whoa, that was dull. So there's some that I will probably put on the YouTube channel as a extra bonus, but I'm not going to subject you to the Mormon Pavilion film or the Billy Graham Pavilion film, or frankly, most of the religious pavilion films at the 64 fair went on forever. And, you feel at the end of it like you should be writing a check to some religion or something. So we'll skip all that. But I'm going to go back. Let me jump up here to what you call it. I think maybe we'll go back way back to Golden Gate Exposition and start with a movie from there. So hang on one second. This one is silent, but let me just set up the sharing here for share screen. And I'm going to share sound, although there is none. So when we get the later movies, we'll see some. So obviously we had two fairs in 39. We're going to go out to San Francisco. I got a kick out of this movie because it's in color. So much of the footage of the 39 fair is done in black and white because color photography, particularly for home use, was just taking over. So we're going to look here. This is Pacifica, the theme statue that was there. There's actually a town now, Pacifica, California, who uses that as their city seal, one of the elements on it. But again, super fair built out there in Treasure Island, built a man-made island built out in the San Francisco Bay for it. So back in New York, you had a giant General Motors Futurama. Everything was much lower key out here in San Francisco. We just saw the GM Pavilion going by there. But GM was there. Ford came in and joined them, and you can see the latest cars in that. A bunch of the statues that you're seeing right there as they walk past them in the fountain area or in front of the museum building today on Treasure Island. Building was built as a airport terminal for a future seaplane port. Navy took it over, used it for years. So there's the Tower of the Sun, the theme structure. But a bunch of these, this fountain stood there for years for the Navy base, and it was finally torn down. But the museum that's out on Treasure Island now has a number of those figures, and it's really cool. You can walk right up to them, take pictures, pose with them, and that. On the
Is
left,
this 16?
I don't know what the format of this is, Wayne, if it's 16 or 8mm.
I suspect 16.
It's probably 16 because it's pretty rock solid. So you had a number of courts radiating out from this Treasure of the Sun, flower gardens, and this looks like it's probably later in the year from the color of the flowers. It's always hard to tell in San Francisco. We can't say just because somebody's wearing a coat what time of year that it is. You can see a guy being pushed in a chair there. That was one of the things where you could go pay a fee and then people would push you around, give you a guided tour. What I get a kick out of, a lot of the times you see people out there being pushed around. They've got a blanket over their legs and they're staying warm. And I guess the guy pushing them stays warm from the effort of pushing them. But get a real personalized fair tour of the excuse me, the fairgrounds. In '64, of course, we had the escorters, a much more modern, mechanized way. But so many World's Fairs had push carts, pedibikes, pedicabs, or whatever they may want to call them, to give people tours of the grounds. All the flower gardens out there, they had a section of the fair called the Magic Carpet, which was all sorts of ice plant and other uh, vegetation that grows well out here, particularly in a saltier environment. And just really the big difference between, to me, the New York and the San Francisco fairs were, as I mentioned, this was a scaled down version of some of the industrial exhibits, but they really went big out here on the gardening and the greenery. 5 years before this picture was taken, this was all just open ocean out there in the in the San Francisco harbor. And so they had to dump all of the dirt out there. They had to then treat all the dirt to try to excuse me, leach as much of the salt out as they could, because most of the dirt came from dredging up the sea bottom, or the harbor bottom, and other parts, and dumping it on some rocks that were out there in the harbor. But to get everything to grow out there, they had to come up with a whole program of how do you take super salt laden dirt and make it suitable for vegetation. They also had a committee that would work and test growing some of this stuff to see if it would work or not. And then Tremendous Farms, they didn't just grow this all on site. They grew it and transplanted a lot of it and put it in place, so that A, it would look more mature, and B, if it, had a chance of dying or anything, they had replacements scattered off site that they could bring in.
Yeah, it looks like they use a lot of very mature trees.
Yes, yeah, they did. And they had started growing them a number of years before, but then they also went off and started buying them. And they had a whole tree farm. I've got somewhere the statistics. It was something like 1,200 or something trees that they grew specifically for this, and another X number of hundred that they bought and brought in. That building in the background is an airplane hangar, one of two built out there for the proposed seaplane base. It's still out there today on the island, so the administration building is still out there, and the two hangar buildings, you can go out. If you're in the San Francisco area, I do recommend going out there. It's kind of neat. They have like I said, a museum in the admin building. But just to go around the grounds, you can see when they tore down the Tower of the Sun, the foundations were left in the ground. And as the rest of the island continues to settle, as landfill will do, you can see the markings of the Tower of the Sun's original footprint quite easily. So if you have a man-made island, you of course need a man-made lake, and there were boat rides. You could go out there and paddle yourself around on a boat, the little rental desk being right there. Or they also had boats that would go and give you a tour of this facility. That coming into view is the United States Pavilion, the concept, three separate branches of government, and three parts of the building out there. Giant mural on it. We go over to the California building, which had a very unfortunate fire during the fair, and basically torched this, and they did their best to race the exhibits outside, but a number of things were lost. That one's about the Spanish missions. Japan built this building in Japan, took it apart and brought it over to the United States, put it back together. After the fair ended, it was offered for free to anybody that would want to take it and bring it to their other location. But when they brought it in here, they did not pay any import taxes on it, because it was a temporary structure to be taken down and returned to Japan. Turned out to get that building for free, but then you would have had to pay a fortune to the federal government and the taxes that were due on it. So it ended up being burned to the ground in a training exercise for the San Francisco Fire Department. Real shame. You think about, if something like that had lived. There again, we got the part of the mural on the front of the U.S. Pavilion and over to California. Nice view of the grounds. Hot dogs. Oh, all of a sudden I got hungry there. No big food breakout items at this particular fair. Ice cream cones were at one, Belgian waffles are another, but this one was just normal fare. But again, I was noticing, looking at how well everybody dressed, all the men in their fedoras and the ladies in their stylish hats and everything. So I posted a picture online the other day of one of the fairs, and people were commenting about, I guess it was the 64 New York fair, about all the men going and visiting the fair in jackets and ties. They had quite a nice international representation out at the 39 Golden Gate International Exposition, particularly a lot of the South American countries. So you had Ecuador, Panama, Guatemala, a number of those came and exhibited, and it was it was a nice fair in that from everything I can tell about it, it was well attended and basically a low key marketing effort. But it did so well, like New York. It had been planned for the 39 season, but it did so well in 39 that they said, if we save some money here, we can bring this back, cut a couple corners, and open it up for 1940 as well. So I'm going to jump to the other section of the country, and we'll see if this gets me past the, actually, we're going to stay at this one for a second, and then go to the other side of the country. We'll see if this one gets past the Facebook copyright checkers.
True Disney fans know that Walt produced many attractions for the 1964 New York World's Fair, including some that went on to become classics like It's a Small World and Carousel of Progress. But did you know he produced a short film that was shown at the 1939 New York World's Fair? It's the one you're about to see, a rarely screened and delightful Mickey Mouse cartoon called Mickey's Surprise Party. Minnie Mouse is the real star of this Technicolor cartoon, but by the film's end, it'll be no surprise who sponsored it: Nabisco.
We're gonna surprise Mickey with some cookies like his mother used to make.
For you.
Oh, Mickey! They're gorgeous! special teas and Oreos.
Yeah, my mother used to buy them all the time. And here's my favorite.
Oh, Mickey! Big Newton!
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I'll stop the sharing for a second there. All of a sudden, I'll be right back. I got to go get a cookie. I don't know why. You know, it's interesting. I don't want to correct Leonard Maltin, who is a genius on many things, but yeah, he said this was for the 1939 New York World's Fair. It actually had debuted about 6 months earlier at the 39 San Francisco Fair, because the two fairs were not held simultaneously. San Francisco opened because the weather was much better out here for the winter season than it is in New York. So they actually showed it out here, and it had tremendous reaction to the audience, you know, and got a lot of publicity in that. What I thought watching was really interesting was, you notice how many of those brands are still with us? I mean, you start thinking about how long ago that is, and you could still go out and buy, obviously, Oreos. I mean, you know, today I think there's 132 specific brands of Oreos. But, you know, Warner Dune cookies, I believe, is still making, but even the dogs with their milk bones. You know, I mean, I frankly never realized that milk bones were a Nabisco product, but you know, the same one. So I just got a kick out of that. It was interesting. Just a real quick aside: when I did my book on the 39 San Francisco Fair, I had a great picture of Walt coming out of the theater with the Nabisco vice president that had been guiding it through all the Nabisco processes. He was some vice president of sales or whatever, and I could not find the guy's name. Just drove me crazy trying to find, you know, wrote to Nabisco, asked for everything. Do you happen to know who this guy was? Nabisco, we didn't even know we made that movie, one of those things. So I sent the manuscript off to the editor, and this is no joke. 24 hours later, somebody says, oh, the guy's name was so and such. So too late, the manuscript was locked down, couldn't be changed. So it just says an unnamed executive in the book, but I did finally find his name. So, but did everybody enjoy your cookies? And you know, I keep thinking, Carol will easily attest I am no cook, but I would think that I would notice if a box of popcorn had fallen into my cookie dough as I was making it. But anyway, so
Bill, that looks kind of like it's kind of like a Three Stooges skit where the bubble gum falls into the cake or something.
yeah, my favorite bit in the whole
I thought,
sorry, go ahead, Carol.
no, I thought the corn kernels were what fell in, and they were going to pop inside the cake in the oven,
Well, that's what was
but it was already popped.
yeah, when it came out and they were blown up. What I got a kick, my favorite thing was when Mickey takes the bug sprayer. You remember, if anybody have the, I mean, I think we had ones that looked just like that with a round cylinder and the rod, but when he pulls the water out of the fish tank and the fish just keeps swimming around and swimming around, not realizing the water's gone, and then all of a sudden realize it and falls into the water that's left. So, you know, at my age, little things amuse me.
Well, you know, two things I noticed. One was that looked like a early incarnation of Lady from Lady and the Tramp. I don't know if anybody recognized that. It just kind of, that's what my first impression was.
Yeah, that wasn't Lady. It's her name is Dinah, yeah, you know, who knows how they were practicing on dogs and, you know, getting stuff done. Hang on.
Yeah. Well, that was the only thing that kind of crossed my mind. But the other thing is, when you look at these old cartoons and old movies and stuff like that, particularly with cooking like this, modern day cooking is not like that anymore. It used to be there was an appliance for cooking and an appliance for an ice box and a small counter with a large sink. But all the prep was done on a big kitchen table in the kitchen, which is where you'd sit around and eat. You know, nowadays you got these big kitchens with all these big countertops and things like that, and people don't cook like that anymore. I mean, you know, like they did. They have all these gadgets, and now these big open kitchens and these big open homes. It's lost its appeal, I believe, at least in my perspective as an architect. But if you go back and look, I said, it's small little quaint kitchen, where they're cooking around, where they're preparing around the table. Anyhow, that was the only other thing I noticed.
Well, they're mice. They couldn't afford a big place. We're going to jump to the other fair, the 1939 New York. Oh, hey, Brock has got some Fig Newtons right there. Did you bring enough for everybody?
I think there might be. I might be one short, so you might not get one, Bill.
That's
Well,
okay. I don't like them anyway. So
Were those strawberry Newtons?
These are actually strawberry Newtons, and
They're
they
so-
taste very much like, yeah.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah.
you guys are making me hungry. Stop it. Well, actually, I'm looking at a bag of chocolate. I could eat that. No. Although somebody told me calories don't count on your birthday. Well, let me jump to the next film here. I'm going to share the screen again. This one comes from the 39 fair in New York, and it's different. It's more animated film, but kind of a cute little thing. So this is from the petroleum exhibit.
Out of the earth. Oil. 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 Creaking. The good old days in person by Creakity. Don't, folks. The poor fellow's doing the best he can without oil. Pioneers, yeah. Squeaking everywhere, and not a drop of oil. There they go, creaking their way into history. That's all behind us now, folks. Oil's been discovered. Of course, you know and I know everything wasn't perfect at first, even in the gay 90s. Oil production was low, prices were high, roads were improving. Anyway, the squeaks were on their way out. Hey, Gassy, where did you get that hat?
Hiya, Pete.
Quite a boy his day, Gassy was, always boasting about his zip.
28 miles an hour.
Hey, I thought we were through with squeak.
Oh, the horse's cousin, Pete.
That's the stuff, though.
You bet.
More trouble. You! Why, there's Stinky Lou. Haven't seen him for years. Hey! Stinky! Wanna take a bath once in a while, Stinky? Sort of lost, aren't you? There it goes, lickety-split. The other way, Stinky!
Oh, beeswax.
Awful crude my relatives were in those days. Not refined enough. Diamonds in the rough they were. Don't keep your shirt on and let time pass. Oil's been refined and life's less crass. Ah, that's more like it, isn't it? Take a look for yourselves, folks. Fine, everywhere. No matter how you refine it, it's still oil. Aeroplanes, automobiles, highways. Ships at sea. Soap. Everything plain and fancy.
Blow the man down.
folly. This is what gets knocks out of a ship. Can you tie that? Place. Oil turns the wheels of industry, of pleasure, of comfort. It cools and heats, builds cities, makes a paradise on earth. Very simple. Production costs, oil derricks, refineries, tank cars, pipelines. Service stations, where you get your gas and oil. Well, the fellows who work in the oil industry have to be paid. Well, somebody gets it. Well, just give me a minute to think. I know. Taxes. I'll take this for my profit. It's not so much, is it? Considering everything. Oh, a waxing a day keeps the apple okay. Wax away, girls. Uh-oh, guess the girls must have missed that spot. Hey. Do something. No. That's no use. What did I tell you? Use your head. Squirt him. There the foul beastie died, slain by another oil product, insecticide.
All righty then.
Now, wasn't that a bizarre one? The narrator, by the way, his name was Pete Rolliam, which, if you put it together, is Petroleum, which was the pavilion that sponsored it. Now, I'm so glad he explained about all the money going out there. So when I was paying $4.39 a gallon for gas the other day, it's nice to know that only 2 cents of that went to the petroleum industry. I mean, isn't that just a bizarre little film?
That's true.
It was very well received at the fair. I have a couple pictures of the pavilion with the entryway, and there's a sign about come and see Pete Rolliam and all his friends. So I think maybe today's subtitle for this talk will be World's Fair films that involve a spray, what you call it?
Was that kind of claymation?
That was all stop motion clay animation.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. At times it looked like it, and other times it was like, well, maybe not.
Yeah, no, and you know, I always get a big kick out of how much patience it must take to do one of those, because you know, if you have to take it and then take it and take it and take it, and then you break it, now you've got to go back and redo the whole thing. It's not like with a drawing, you just put another drawing in with the clay. You've got to really know what the hell you're doing. So, but I got a kick out of, you know, it's just a crazy little piece of film. So let's see what else we have here for you. I think we're gonna jump up to what you call it, 64 now. Let's see here. This one was shown at the Kodak exhibit. Let me just get it ready here. So share screen with media player. And let me just get this one going here. So again, Kodak.
This is darkness. Darkness has no dimension. There are simple creatures who live in the eternal darkness of their own body. There are others for whom nature has devised a window to the mind. Complex, sensitive, efficient, but used only to observe what is present, unconcerned with the past, unmindful of the future. Of all the creatures, there is one whose vision embraces more than that, much more than that. The eye, a simple tool for measuring, in the use of which some are skilled and some are not. The eye, a complex instrument for the contemplation of the unknown, the mysterious, the beautiful.
And I don't know if that's how it ended at the fair, but that's how it ended on the copy that I was able to locate. We're gonna go stay with the 6460 fair with a look here at Sinclair. Okay, everybody's projector in focus.
The Story of the Dinosaur Sculpture. Narration by Gil Roller. Continuity by Vincent Geary. Produced by Hepworth Films. Photographed and directed by Gil Roller. The huge studios of Louis Paul Jonas. Work is underway on a monumental assignment. The life-size recreation of 9 prehistoric dinosaurs. But let's go back to when this tremendous work was still just an idea. Early spring 1962, the Louis Paul Jonas Studios in New York's beautiful Columbia County hills. Moments of relaxation in his garden allow time for Mr. Jonas to think of the many problems to be resolved in this art project of unprecedented detail commissioned by the Sinclair Refining Company. The actual visualization begins with sketches and clay models such as this ornitholestus. It is studied carefully for the most dramatic attitude before modeling is begun. The Sinclair Refining Company has engaged 2 world-renowned paleontologists as consultants for this program. They are Dr. Barnum Brown of the American Museum of Natural History and Dr. John H. Ostrom of the Yale University Peabody Museum. Volumes of available scientific information are consulted. The Stegosaurus, an egg-laying vegetarian reptile of the Jurassic period. It weighed about 2 tons, was 30 feet long and 9 feet high. Alongside the present Jonas Studios, ground for the huge building in which the Brontosaurus will be constructed is packed down. Mr. Jonas's son, Paul, sculpts the scale model of the Corythosaurus over a wire and cardboard armature. Mr. Jonas checks every phase of the work with constant reference to the latest available scientific information. The particular text Mr. Jonas is using is prepared by the American Museum of Natural History, and despite its great volume, it contains only information determined in 1 year. Masses of reference material must be consulted to assure the accuracy this project demands. The Brontosaurus, the central figure of this tremendous project. The recreation of this incredible reptile in full life size, scientifically accurate, has never been so perfectly achieved before. The finished Brontosaurus will be 70 feet from head to tail. It will stand 16 feet high and weigh 9,000 pounds. The small models are photographed and then projected 10 times to their actual life size. Patterns are traced so that the skeletal structure can be accurately cut from wood and assembled as an armature. All work must proceed on a rigid schedule. The prefabricated building nears completion. The structure was specially designed for this project. It is 34 feet high, 75 feet in length, and 40 feet wide. All the sections were pre-cut. The building completion schedule was 6 weeks. While the building frame is being assembled, a different type of prefab frame is being constructed here. Bruce Madeline cuts the bone shapes for the Brontosaurus after they have been marked from paper patterns. All measurements are checked against American Museum specimens. This is the basic armature of the Ankylosaurus. The wood skeleton form is complete and the wire screening, which will support the plaster and clay, is now in position. All the complex joints have been carefully preserved to impart lifelike characteristics to the finished work. Now work begins on the armature for the giant Brontosaurus. Measurements are transferred from the paper pattern to the armature. The skeletal forms are hoisted into position by a chain block. The feet must be carefully set to give the creature a lifelike stance. Meanwhile, Mr. Jonas experiments with final delicate changes on the model of the Stegosaurus, which he will then transfer to the life-size replica before fabrication begins. Ingenious devices, such as this simple hair curler, help to create the amazingly lifelike skin textures. Late into the night, Mr. Jonas works to carry the clay form to perfection. Consummate artistry and years of scientific knowledge combine to produce a model more authentic than any which presently exists. He inspects the giant armature. There are vast problems to be solved. It must be able to withstand the elements of weather. The structure must permit men to enter and fasten the neck. Stresses and load distribution must be carefully arranged. The armature must be able to support a weight load of hundreds of pounds of wire, 2,000 pounds of basic plaster, 16,000 pounds of clay, and then another 2,000 pounds of fabricating plaster, a total of over 10 tons. But none of these difficulties must permit any compromise with the final goal, absolute realism, accuracy, and artistic perfection. Never before has a work of such scope been attempted. The Stegosaurus is being fabricated. A special cement plaster is mixed to a thick liquid. This mixture is sprayed under great pressure to a thickness of 1/4 of an inch. Over this will go reinforcing burlap, and then another coat of cement plaster. While this particular fabrication may seem a large project, it is dwarfed by the work which must be done to fabricate the Brontosaurus. This is one of the molded sections being inspected. We shall view the process in greater detail later in the film. The Stegosaurus is the first reptile to be fabricated in the final fiberglass shell, which is made from the mold we have just seen. Every fold and textural characteristic of the flesh has been recreated. The fiberglass shell has the strength of steel, yet it is almost as thin and translucent as porcelain, as this ordinary house bulb placed behind it demonstrates. The Stegosaurus is placed outside to be subjected to the effects of weather. It will be tested for its resistance to heat, cold, and dampness. A record is kept of the temperature variations to which the fabrication is exposed. Steady progress is being made on the Brontosaurus. Heavy wire mesh is nailed over the wooden armature to act as a support for the clay. In order to facilitate modeling the neck, it has been designed to be removable from the rest of the armature. clay, which is prepared in these cylindrical shapes, is extremely malleable and does not harden on prolonged exposure. This permits continual adjustment and changes as the sculpting proceeds. 8 tons of this clay will be required to cover the Brontosaurus. The clay is painstakingly applied in small quantities until a thickness of about 2 inches is achieved. The body of the Brontosaurus is ready for the basic plaster coat, which will act as a rigid support for the clay. Hemp is saturated in plaster and then pressed into the wire mesh. Only small quantities of plaster can be mixed at a time because of rapid setting. It is slow, tedious work, but it is vitally important that it be done properly, since the success of the final fabrication depends upon the strength of this basic supporting structure. Five full days of work are required to cover the wire framework with plaster. Everyone pitches in to speed the basic work along. Mr. Jonas applies shellac to the plaster so that the oil in the clay will not be absorbed. The interior structure of the armature is checked for stress as the tons of plaster are added. Mr. Jonas pounds the clay into the rough general contour. Clay has been removed from this rectangular area, and more plaster will be added to build out this particular section. Huge proportional dividers transfer all measurements in a ratio of 1 to 10 from the small-scale model to the life-size piece. The dimensions of the large work must conform to the small model before sculpting begins. And now the gargantuan structure is ready for the hands that will mold the tons of clay into a lifelike creature. Muscles, veins, skin textures, the folds and creases produced by the attitude in which the animal stands, all of this will emerge from the clay to give us a recreation of this awesome reptile which roamed this continent millions of years ago. Artistic ability and physical stamina go hand in hand in this project. Bit by bit, tons of clay are manipulated on the frame. Word of the giant project spreads, and throngs of people come to watch. Children, particularly, are fascinated by the story of these reptiles. Many of the youngsters can identify all of them by name. Sections of the neck are now being molded. These sections are tied together for additional support. Steel pipes are secured to the mold to ensure its rigidity upon removal. Surprisingly enough, fiber soaked in plaster and pressed around the pipe is sufficient to hold the pipe as securely as though it had been bolted into position. At the same time, work proceeds on the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But for sheer size and massiveness, none of the other reptiles presents the problems of the Brontosaurus. Every inch of the giant structure must be sprayed with the first plaster coating. To apply the plaster in any other way would be to sacrifice the quality of detail. The huge mold is made ready for removal in sections. The molds are now removed from the Brontosaurus. Each section is numbered so that the final fiberglass fabrication can be placed in the proper position. The Brontosaurus requires a total of 178 separate molds. Each mold is inspected for imperfections. Winter has come. In these hills where the studio is located, below zero temperatures are commonplace. 15 degrees below zero this particular day. The fiberglass Stegosaurus withstands the bitter weather, as it will for years to come. It has all the permanence of bronze. In the warmth of the studio, work goes on. The neck fabrication is given a final check. The fiberglass sections are being placed into position. They are secured around a steel framework. The body alone is the size of a small house. Paul Jonas works on the extremely complex form of the Ankylosaurus. Ratio of size from model to finish must be meticulously preserved. Artistry and accuracy must work together. Mr. Jonas checks the sculptural qualities of the work. Despite the bitter weather, people flock to the studio. Eventually, it becomes necessary to conduct guided tours. The fiberglass shell continues to grow. Steel frames must be cut for supporting structures. All imperfections are removed. Seams must be made invisible. Mr. Jonas and Walter Merritt put the final touches on the Tyrannosaurus Rex. There is always the striving for perfection of detail. Mr. Merritt, a fine artist in his own right, paints each reptile by hand. His colors and patterns are based on what exhaustive research indicates to be the most likely combinations. This is a completed lower section of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and this is the completed upper section. The Corythosaurus is one of the last pieces to be fabricated. Scores of sightseers come for a last fascinating look before the giant creations are removed from the studio grounds for shipment to the World's Fair. The awesome Brontosaurus dominates the display. This reptile, more than any other, typifies brute power and strength. The Ankylosaurus, an almost living recreation. The Struthiomias, the grotesque forerunner of the ostrich. Our old friend, the Stegosaurus. The Trachodon. At the day's end, when the crowds have left, Mr. Jonas walks among these great works, examining them, appraising them to satisfy his ever-critical artistry that these pieces represent the culmination of all his artistic and technical abilities. Long after the 1964 World's Fair is a memory, these pieces, wherever they are, will thrill and fascinate young and old alike. The artist will marvel at their execution, the scientist at their accuracy. They will be a source of pleasure, education, and scientific reference. This is the purpose of the concept, and we believe this concept has been achieved.
Two of them are still in Dinosaur Valley State Park in Texas. I visit them every so often.
Did anybody realize just how hard it was to build those things? You know, I was lucky. I was one of the people they mentioned the crowds going up there for guided tours, and I was one of those people went up there. My Boy Scout troop was camping nearby, and it was pouring rain, and the adults said, "Where are we going to take the kids?" So they took us there, and that was my first exposure to you know, seeing something from the '64 fair coming up. So I really, the film is very dull, very slow, very moving, but I can remember walking through that building and seeing those dinosaurs and wanting to go see them at the fair. So it was great fun. That's my understanding that the Jonas Studio still has all those molds, so that every now and then some museum someplace says we want an Ankylosaurus or a Stegosaurus. I don't think anybody's ever asked them to build another Brontosaurus, but they will. Evidently, they could still make one if you wanted. So, if anybody wants something for, actually, seeing it's my birthday, I could use a Brontosaurus. Any?
So where do most of them end up? There's two of them down in Glen Rose, Texas. You got the T-Rex and Brontosaurus. Where's the rest of them?
They're scattered all around in various museums. They've Bill Young, I believe, on his site, NYFWF64, has where they are. And I know the town that I lived in Massachusetts, Pittsfield, Massachusetts, has one of the recreations done from a later mold. So there's a bunch of them still around. Like when I mentioned I wanted my own Brontosaurus, I could see Carol going, right, and where's it going to be? I bought her a sculpture.
Is Carol going to have to climb up on it to dust it?
Yeah. No, I bought her a wind sculpture for Christmas, and we're still trying to figure out where to put that outside. So a Brontosaurus would be a bit of a challenge.
I'm sure there's room in the garage, Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, my question is, did Mr. Jonas have that pipe surgically implanted? I don't think there was a picture in the film when he was in it that didn't have the pipe in his mouth.
Yeah, you wonder about that. I was also wondering when he climbed up inside the Brontosaurus, you get up there and you go, okay, now how do I get back out of here? So, you know, by the way, I forgot to mention when we saw the Seeing Eye film and the kid running across and he jumps up from rock to rock and goes into the water. I don't know if people know it, but Joey Vento probably has those waterlogged sneakers. So anyway, you know, we all know the dinosaurs so well. I just thought people might get a kick out of seeing them again. Then we're going to hop over to Travelers Insurance. Last week I was talking about the thrill of getting your little red record and the triumph of man. So we're going to take a look at that. Hang on, I'm going to bring it back here to the beginning. Share the screen. Share screen. DLC media player. There we go. And here we go.
Welcome to the Travelers Insurance Company's exhibit. You are about to start on an unforgettable journey. A journey across 2.5 billion years of life on Earth. You are going to walk through the history of man. You will be with him as he meets his greatest challenges. For this is your story, the triumph of man. This is East Africa and man,
your ancestor of 1.5 million years ago. He is ape-like, clothed in coarse hair, but he stands upright. He can think. He can learn. Early man uses rocks and clubs to kill animals for food. He fashions small stone tools to help him cut through tough hides. His world is violent, cruel, but he survives. And this simple pebble tool is the beginning of a technology which will take man to the stars. For 1 million years, man faces life like the animals with only primitive tools to help. Man has long known of fire, but he runs from it in fear. Then man discovers he can use this energy. The small flames light his nights. He is able to cook. With fire, man can now live in colder climates, and he inhabits more of the earth. In northern China, 250,000 years ago, we find man gathering his family around the fire. The hearth has remained, ever since, the symbol of home. A 250,000 years go by. Man is now aware of a world beyond his own senses, a world of emotion, imagination, the supernatural. The succession of day and night, the rhythm of the seasons, the pattern of life and death are mysteries he tries to understand. These cavemen hope to exert a magical power over the animals by painting their images. Out of man's desire to influence forces beyond himself, a simple religion arises in the hostile world of 25,000 years ago. Man moves over hills and past far rivers in search of game. Then on a warm spring day, he plants his first seeds. The grain grows, and again, his life changes. With agriculture, the hazardous nomadic life of hunting flows into a more settled existence. It is 8,000 years ago. Man is building small villages. He domesticates animals, develops crafts like weaving and pottery. The earth yields. Man stores his surplus, protecting himself against starvation. Society becomes more complex as man begins to organize himself and those around him. You are standing on a wall of the city of Ur in Mesopotamia 4,000 years ago. Great walled cities are man's answer to population increase. Surplus grows into wealth, and wealth encourages war. Man attacks man. Ramparts shake. The clash of battle echoes through long days of the Bronze Age. Man increases his power and knowledge. He invents government, commerce, architecture, writing, and taxes. Over and over again, he fights to protect what is his. And out of destruction, man rebuilds and moves forward. Homer has said his words. The Hebrew prophets have spoken. To the east, whole civilizations have come and gone. Now the Roman Empire spreads across the Western world. It is a triumph of technology and culture. Rome sets the pace for Western civilization. Our laws and the organization of our government go back to the days of the Forum. But another great endowment emerges from these years as the apostles travel the Mediterranean, bringing a new message to man. It is a message of hope, of a power stronger than weapons, a wealth more lasting than the coins of Caesar. These are the plains of Chalon in eastern France more than 1,500 years ago. The Roman Empire is under attack. The earth trembles to the hoofbeats of charging horses. Attila bursts out of the Balkans to ram his savage troops through all of Europe. Here at Chalons, Attila meets two Roman armies head-on. In 5 hours, 106,000 men fall. The barbarian horde retreats. Western civilization is saved from extinction. But this is a struggle that will be repeated again and again as man learns that what he cherishes, he must protect. A city in Europe 600 years ago. A church bell tolls. The death wagon rolls through cobbled streets. People cough and convulse. Crowding, lack of sanitation have brought the dreaded plague. The life of the medieval city with its commerce, its art and architecture is one of the triumphs of man. But out of the swarming streets come recurrent disease and disaster. Slowly, man learns the nature of epidemic. He discovers its treatment and prevention. With the health of the people safeguarded, man's great cities will grow and flourish. The desire to know the secrets of the universe is almost as old as man himself. The Chinese, Arabs, and Greeks have all explored the realm of science. But the real awakening comes as the Renaissance spreads through Europe 500 years ago. The writings of Copernicus, a Polish monk, inspire a whole new way of scientific thinking. He says that the sun, not the earth, is the center of the universe. Old superstitions and beliefs are shattered. Copernicus and his fellow scientists launch man on a voyage of the mind that will take him beyond the limits of his dreams. Man's restless spirit urges him to discover what lies beyond the far horizons, but he fears the unknown edges of the world, and his ships sail close to shore. Columbus has another idea, and he heads 3 small ships out into the unknown sea. Food supplies dwindle, mutiny threatens. But after 36 days, Columbus sights San Salvador, America. Columbus and the brave adventurers like him snap the physical bounds of man. Their voyages change the whole course of Earth's history. It is 300 years after Columbus. Pioneers journey west across the New World, leaving the comfort and security of home, cutting paths over the Appalachians, moving deep into the heart of the continent. The world begins to hear about the American spirit, the tough self-reliance of individuals in a free society. Our hearts still beat for the Daniel Boones, the Sodbusters, the Ohio River flatboat men. Their vision of democracy is ours. The wilderness is not yet tamed. Ahead of us there will always be a frontier, an endless challenge to the heart and mind of man. The Civil War presents the greatest threat to our nation. A grave moral issue is at stake. But the thunder dies, and as the smoke clears from Vicksburg, Pickett's Ridge, Chancellorsville, the nation is reborn. We are one people under God, moving ahead together, united and free. Slowly the wounds of the Civil War heal, but the scars remain. We reaffirm that in unity there is strength, and that the American contribution to man's triumph is the unfaltering spirit of liberty, the endless struggle for the right of all men to live together in peace and freedom. The Earth travels around the sun 100 times. The pace of human accomplishment accelerates incredibly. More is achieved in this brief 100 years than in all the other ages combined. In a blaze of discovery, man's mind penetrates inner space, seeking the very basis of all life. He explores outer space, freeing himself from the planet which has held him for almost 2 million years. This is man's nature. Where there is truth, he must find. Where there is danger, he must overcome. Where there is destruction, he must rebuild. Where there is love, he must protect. This is the triumph of man.
Well, for everybody that has one of those little red records that hasn't listened to it in years and years and years, now you know what you're holding on to. Let me just got a couple others. I don't want to go too long here, but let me just see what we can come up with real quick here. Well, that's a long one. Well, I think maybe we'll leave Expo 67 of the next time, but this is just a quick little video that I put together a number of years ago as a World's Fair tribute. So you've probably seen this online, but let me just try to end with this. Anybody want to go to the fair again after seeing that?
I really liked that clip. That was quite good.
Yeah, I had fun putting that together. I did it a number of years ago, just for a lark, playing with whatever program I was using at that particular time. Now, Kathy's asking what film was that? That was a Bill Cotter production. So, I had a fun. I've always enjoyed that song, "The Time of My Life," and then trying to find the right songs to match the mood and everything. But let me just go through the chat here real quick. I see a whole bunch of things. And okay, yes, I am chatting as a guest. Thank you. Boy, the things they keep changing all. Nobody put Robert Moses in the corner. That's a great one. I got a kick out of that. So okay. Actually, somebody's asking, no 8mm in 1939. Yeah, there definitely was 8mm film in 1939. Kodak actually gave out sample reels of it at the the 39 New York Fair. They gave out rolls of film asking people to go and take it and show their neighbors and everything. So hang on. Yeah, the oil short is definitely weird, Beth. You're right. I mean, good old Pete Rolling and his friends, and just crazy enough stuff. Carol was mentioning to me the narrator putting people to sleep. I think that was the dinosaur film. I enjoyed the film, but I was thinking, at the beginning when they read all the credits, they were going for the El Cheapo aspect, but you look at the difference in the narration between that and the guy that did the Travelers thing. I mean, the Travelers guy was really into it and made the whole thing exciting, and you're waiting for the next part. And the dinosaur thing was okay, I mean, the armature, I mean, it was like the Ben Stein of narration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was an old narrator.
Like, okay, you're turning the hair curler, you're turning the hair curler, you're turning the hair. It just goes on and on. But again, it's a dull film, but I really think it was very worthwhile to watch for the complexity of building all those gigantic wooden forms to build those dinosaurs. I mean, we see them standing at the fair, and now they're in Texas and everything, and the fiberglass shells. But that was massive amount of work that they did back then.
Where was
it's still
that
around.
film actually used?
That was shown out to Sinclair, dealers and exhibitors and that sort of thing. They explained, just like GM and others did it, where's your money going for the advertising budget, and why are we not doing other things? So it was meant for internal Sinclair consumption.
Yeah, but the musical score was very fantastic.
That film you put out, Bill, a similar version was made with Louis Armstrong singing "It's a Wonderful World." Very, very similar.
That was me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that one with the
You made
Armstrong
that? You made that?
song is my most favorite of all time for look backs at the fair.
Both of them at the end say "Gone but not forgotten."
Yeah, no, I did them both. The reason I didn't do the Louis Armstrong one is on this is that Facebook has, Zoom has a habit of flagging things for copyright. So when I edit this film, it's going to be interesting to see how many things I have to take out. The Louis Armstrong one is flagged, but it's allowed to be played, as long as I don't try to monetize it. The other one was a more generic cover version of somebody's music. But I absolutely love, one of my favorite songs of all time is, "It's a Wonderful World." And that was the first one I put together, and about 2-3 years later, I decided to do this one. So just going through here. I still love that. Nobody puts Robert Morris in the corner. Great. Yeah, as Brett said, no idea how much went into the dinosaurs. I mean, that's the whole thing I find interesting is if you go to the fair, you see the dinosaur, it's big and everything, and you go on. As I said, we were very lucky, and we had gone there. And I've mentioned this probably in prior talks, but my dad grew to absolutely hate the Sinclair dinosaurs because they had taken us up to the studio, and it was just as they were getting ready to take them down to New York to put on an exhibit. So they had, you know, the old joke about painting yourself into a corner. Well, they had sort of done it at the studio. They built them all up there, and then the road that they had to take them down was not suitable for taking the dinosaurs down. They were too big. So they had to come and plow a new road up there. And we went up on a day where it was raining like mad. I mean, somebody putting a fire hose on your car, that would be it. And we drove up, saw the dinosaurs, and as we were coming back down this dirt road going out to the highway, the road managed to collapse. And we had a brand new was it a Rambler station wagon, and the road collapsed and off we went into the ditch. And now water was coming in the back door and going out the front doors. And my dad had to get a farmer with a tractor to pull the car out of there. And then it had tremendous amount of damage. I mean, the carpets, the wire and everything. And my mother was so mad at Dad for, you know, ruining the car. I mean, I was in the car when it happened. Dad had no hope whatsoever. I mean, he just driving down the road and all of a sudden the road's gone. But he had to spend a fortune to get that car fixed. So when we would go to the World's Fair, I would say, like, you know, Dad, where do you want to meet? At the Unisphere? Do you want to meet a journalist? Anywhere except the dinosaurs. So became a family standing joke over the years that, you know, I would, you know, wrap his Christmas present with a dinosaur paper or something. So, but yeah, the dinosaurs, it was really cool to go see them in person. I mean, you can imagine taking a bunch of, you know, 20, 30 Boy Scouts, and we had fun. It was good stuff. So anything else anybody saw for the first time? Actually, seeing Wayne sitting there, I have one other film we can show. Hang on one second. Let me get it here. And, excuse me. This one you might get a kick out of. It's the very last day of the World's Fair. And if you remember, you could see yourself on television at the RCA Pavilion. And the way it worked was, and I've described this on prior talks, you had 2 video tape recorders, and VTRs were very new at the time. But to get the delay, you played on the one machine, you ran it over 6 feet or so to the other machine, and then you could watch it. So that people could go and watch themselves on TV was just amazing. And some engineer working for RCA on the last day of the fair, took home the reel of tape that they used for it, had it in his garage forever, found it, and then you try to go find a 1965 VTR these days. I mean, trying to find a working Betamax is hard enough, but try to find a 2-inch reel tape. So let me pull this up here, and I will get this ready just one second. This is a very small snippet of people on their last day, and share screen. Okay. Here we go. VLC New Year Player, and so the very last day of the World's Fair. It's amazing that somebody was able to restore this. Oh, yeah, kick out of this cigarette. But you know, this is ancient videotape, 60 years old at this point in time, and somebody was able to restore.
That's Omar Sharif.
What's that?
Sharif. That's Omar Sharif just went by.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Well, the outfits.
That's me. Whoa.
Oh.
They're all on a turntable, and it's just, that's how they got you on. You stepped onto the turntable. The camera wasn't moving. It wasn't a moving belt or anything, but the turntable just turned around, took you off scene. And that was the whole thing, was that you would, you know, be able to, oh, I love everybody with their cigarettes back then. You would be able to also, as you came to the next room, hey, look, there I am again. So you see yourself live. You get to the next room, and then you see yourself for the tape delay, because the machine ran from, the tape ran from machine to machine. So anyway, that one was done in your honor, Wayne. I'm sure you've probably seen that before.
Yeah, and excuse me, every time I see it, I wonder if those flowers the ladies have were bought or ripped out of the ground.
I think they were ripped out of the ground. Yeah.
Down on the last day.
Yeah. The last day they were, you know, hey, look, I've got evidence of me being a vandal, but nobody will ever know. And there we are, right? So
I found it interesting, Bill. The beginning of that Kodak film you showed almost sounded like the beginning of Twilight Zone. You think about it, listen to the music, and even the opening statement was a little Twilight Zone-ish, and then it became a little, you know, something else. But I just thought, this is weird.
Yeah. Speaking of weird, Tom Brooks made one. I thought it was funny question how many didn't notice the popcorn kernels in our cookie batter, but you're okay with talking mice.
Is that in response to what I said? Because I didn't say that.
No, that's what Tom was saying when I was mentioning how when the popcorn fell in, she didn't even notice she was stirring it in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I said I thought it was kernels, not popcorn, already popped popcorn,
Yeah. No, it.
which would have made it a better gag.
Well, I think it was kernels, Carol, and that's why the popcorn exploding.
Cookies popped all over.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then I must have missed that part.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I thought it was interesting that when that one shot into Pluto's mouth, it went right to his butt.
You know,
quick digestion.
It's so funny when you watch some of those old cartoons and you can see gags that they later reuse because of the exact same sort of thing. There's a great cartoon with Donald and Pluto being plumbers, and of course Pluto swallows something and the tail stretches out. I mean, in the shape of a monkey wrench or whatever. So, but great stuff. So. Next week, I plan to get back to more publicity photos. And as I said, this past week, I just got sitting right here, a stack of them from the 34 Chicago Fair. So if all goes well, I will scan those. So we'll do 33 and 64 next week. Then the week after that, I intend to have some more home videos that I'm working on restoring home movies, mostly from 64. I've got a bunch of Expo 67 films, but we're going to need Harold to interpret them for us because the whole dialogue is all in French. So,
oh my.
Yeah, it was actually, I was watching one of them, they're really nice things. There were documentaries made for Canadian television. And I was just fast forwarding through it. And I got to one point and hey, it's in English. And there's a narration where they're going, "Here comes the bride." And it was only that one line from the song and everything else was in French. So, but the visuals would be great, even for those of us. Carol understands some French. I don't any of it. So, and then so we got things for the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully everybody's doing okay weather-wise. And we're supposed to be 81 out here tomorrow, and then the rest of the week rains. So it's crazy weather. So
it was 80 degrees yesterday in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, isn't it?
And a week ago was 10.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we just had some more rain this week, but we're supposed to get rain next week, a couple days off, more rain. So I'm looking forward to it. We need the rain. I'm really enjoying it. Randy?
Hey, I wanted to ask Rob and Shelley Bianco, are those models the same scale that you're holding? Or maybe they're not online.
Here. Yeah, it's a question. Good question if they're the same one or not. Same scale.
If they are, I didn't realize how much larger the perisphere was than the unisphere.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely gigantic.
Yes, yeah, they are in scale to each other.
Wow.
1 to 600. Unisphere was 120 feet in diameter, and I think the perisphere was 200 feet in diameter.
It was almost the size of the Washington Monument.
Actually, it was larger. It was about, I've read where it was 700 feet tall. Where the Washington Monument's about 555 feet tall.
You're right, 555.
Right. Oh, before I forget, next Friday, I'm going to be down in beautiful downtown Anaheim with a number of other folks giving a talk about the 64 World's Fair and the Disney shows. So I believe, Kathy, you're going to be there. Look forward to seeing you. But if anybody's interested, I think it's just about sold out, which is good. But it's online. It's a group called Mice Chat is putting that together. And then let's see, I'm trying to remember all the various dates. I've got to write them down here somewhere. Anyway, I've got other talks coming up to the Disneyland Alumni Club, which I guess is in April. And March, Kathy's putting together something at Smoke Tree Ranch. So it's nice to, so far, back in New York, they seem to have totally ignored the fact that they ever had any World's Fairs, but it's nice that other places are paying attention to it. So I don't know what's with New York. So anyway, hope folks have a great day. I'm gonna go enjoy a chocolate shake for my birthday and
Thank you for spending your birthday with us. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah.
my pleasure. So, and again, for the folks that contributed to my Onto Earth Fund, again, thank you very much. We're just getting ready for, when you have a camp in the Catskill Mountains in New York, you can only build at certain times of the year because the ground turns rock solid. But we just had a meeting this week laying out what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. And it's all dependent, again, on when you can drive pile drivers or post hole diggers or anything. But it's nice that gives you some sort of time we can actually plan things as opposed to just show up and, oh, let's build a building and oh, somebody forgot to bring the nails. So we're all laying that out and we're getting all gung-ho. And I'm really excited about it because I'm 3,000 miles away and I don't have to lift any of that stuff. I just have to help them write the checks for it. So it's easy for me. So thanks much. We'll see you next week then. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
Thank you
bye-bye.
again.